Yes guys, welcome back to another Fantasy Football Fix YouTube video. My name's FPL Nacho, and in this video we are going to be looking at the top transfers going into Game Week 27. With blank Game Week 29 now confirmed, that has a massive impact on the transfers that we need to make going into this weekend, and we are going to discuss that in today's video alongside some Hwang replacements. As always, if you are new around here, please do consider dropping a like and smashing that subscribe button. It'd be great to have you for the back end of the season. And without further ado, let's get into today's video. So first up, I think it is really important to talk about a certain Spurs' Son. This guy is currently one of the most popular transfers going into Game Week 27, and rightly so, looking at the fixtures coming up. As you can see on your screens here, Crystal Palace at home, followed by Aston Villa away, and importantly, a guaranteed fixture in Game Week 29 away against Fulham. Now, with Son, we know that we are getting one of the best attackers in the game when he is playing as a forward. And that's the big thing that we need to discuss right now, because the uncertainty of where Son is going to play does have a variation on his underlying numbers. So on your screens right now, you can see his numbers based on game weeks 1 to game weeks 26. But that has definitely changed in where he has played. At the start of the season, he played off the left. In the middle, he played as a number 9. And recently, he's been playing off the left once again. But his overall numbers are still decent. XG per 90, 0.37, but as always, he overperforms his expected goals, 0.59 goals per 90. And you can see from the expected assists as well, he is not only a goal threat, but a chance creator in this team at 0.33 expected assists per 90. Now, the big thing about this is, going forward, we want to see Son as the number 9 in this Spurs team, and we need to question whether, if he doesn't play as the number 9, is he really that essential for our team? So looking at some of the numbers right now, just want to give you an idea. When Son plays as the number 9, and that is going to include when Richarlison isn't on the field, because usually when Richarlison is on the field, Son plays off the left, Richarlison down the middle. So when that happens, Son's expected goals per 90 is 0.48, and also his expected assists is 0.22. So we see an increase in goal threat, and we see a decline in his chance creation, which is only natural when he's expected to be the main man in that team. When he's playing off the left-hand side, and these underlying numbers include when Kulusevski, Richarlison and Maddison are on the field, we see a decline in his XG to 0.30 per 90, but we see an increase in his expected assists of 0.35. So the big question I have right now is Son going to play as the number 9, or is he going to play off the left? Well, the recent news sounds like Richarlison is a doubt for the weekend. And if we're looking to invest in Son, this is the game week to do so. It looks like there is a small to a large possibility that he could play as the number 9 at home against Crystal Palace, a team with a new manager who are going to probably try and attack Spurs in this game. And I think that's going to leave a lot of space for Son to get in behind that back three, that newly formed back three. So if you're in a position right now where maybe you own Hwang with the news that he is a major doubt going into the weekend, if you have the funds available, I think the upgrade from Hwang to Son makes a lot of sense. The fixtures coming up are great. It gives you coverage in Game Week 29, and even if you're free hitting in Game Week 29, you're going to want him in your team regardless. So Son is my favourite pick of the Spurs. Richarlison, Maddison are also great picks, and we are going to discuss those in a minute. But my number 1 transfer this week is going to be Son, and hopefully we do see him play as the number 9 in that system. Let me know if you are on Son. I think he'll be the most bought player going into this weekend. So next up, we want to take a look at some mid-price midfielders who play in Game Week 29, who really add some value over the next few game weeks. So the 3 players that I really wanted to highlight here are going to include Jarrod Bowen, James Maddison and Leon Bailey. It would have had Richarlison on your screens, but of course, with the recent news of him being a doubt for the weekend, he isn't going to be a consideration for our teams. He definitely will be later down the line once he is confirmed to be fit, maybe in a free hit Game Week 29 team. But right now, we're looking at Game Week 27 in isolation. And because of the recent rumours of him being out, I do put Maddison above Richarlison as a top transfer. Now, looking at West Ham's fixtures coming up, another team that are confirmed to play in Game Week 29. Everton away coming up. I think that's an okay fixture for West Ham. Then they have Burnley at home. That is the entry point for a lot of FPL managers. I don't necessarily think buying Bowen this game week is absolutely essential, but if you're in a position right now where you're looking to field a game week 29 team with free transfers or points hits, I think buying Jarrod Bowen in game week 28 is really, really important because of that fantastic home game against Burnley. And you can see with the underlying numbers, he is the best of the bunch when we are looking at goal threat. 0.4 XG per 90, and even his goals per 90 are fantastic at 0.56. The only downside of Jarrod Bowen, he isn't on penalties. We do expect Paqueta to pick up responsibilities of being the penalty taker in that team, but Bowen is still a fantastic option, and the return of Paqueta, kudos in this team, I think only improves him as an FPL option, and I really don't mind it if you want to invest into Jarrod Bowen this game week if maybe you're not sold on Son or you don't have the money available to upgrade Hee-chan to Son. Talking about Spurs, James Maddison coming off the back of a recent injury, slowly finding his form once again, but from an eye test perspective, I haven't really seen the best of James Maddison just yet. A cheaper price than Son at 7.9 million, but you're not necessarily getting the goal threat that Son offers. 0.24 XG per 90 and 0.31 expected assists per 90. He is really well-rounded, but I'm not seeing that goal threat that I really want from an asset that's around 7.98 million. I do think spending the additional for somebody like Son is worth the money. And in terms of doubling up on Spurs, I think that's actually a decent differential to go for. I think a lot of us are going to fall on double Spurs midfield come game week 29. So if you do own Son, maybe you've held him for a long time, maybe going early on the double up with Richarlison is a nice differential. But right now, I do prefer Jarrod Bowen over James Maddison. Now, at a slightly cheaper price, and really well done to those that maybe went on him last game week, is going to be Aston Villa's Bailey. Now, a lot of talk about his minutes being a bit of a risk. I don't think he's a risk at all. The only worry about him is coming off early in games. I think he starts every game. I think it's a case that he comes off around 75 minutes at times. Now, his underlying numbers are fantastic. 0.31 XG per 90 is great, and also his expected assists at 0.42 per 90. Really solid underlying numbers. And with the fixtures coming up, Luton away, that could be a tricky place to go, but I wouldn't back against him. Then Spurs at home, I think that's a great fixture with the problems that Spurs have defensively. And then, of course, a guaranteed fixture in game week 29 against a West Ham team that are conceding a lot of goals. So I think Bailey is a really good investment. I think Douglas Luiz is also a consideration, but I prefer the upside that Bailey does offer, even though he isn't on penalties. So outside of Son, if I was to rank these right now, I probably would have, if you have the money available, Jarrod Bowen is number 1, Leon Bailey as 2, and James Maddison as number 3. But the one thing I do want to mention is the reintroduction of the Europa League, which will impact both West Ham and Aston Villa assets, whereas Spurs do not have anything to worry about. So please do be cautious of that with the upcoming game weeks. That could slightly affect the minutes of some of these players. But let me know who you pick in the comment section. So last up are the player comparisons. I wanted to take a look at some defenders. We got to give them some love. And I think Luton and Bournemouth are some really interesting assets that we need to consider for our FPL teams. Now, both priced at very similar brackets, 4.6 million for Doughty and 4.5 million for Senesi. But realistically, from an XG perspective, not offering too much. 0.07 XG per 90 for both of those. So we're not getting necessarily a goal-scoring defender, but we are getting a bit of a chance creator in this Luton team. 0.21 XA per 90 is really solid numbers for Doughty, and he is playing as a wing back in this system and being encouraged to really influence in the final third. Senesi, on the other hand, is a traditional centre back in the team. He does get up for set pieces, as you can see with the XG, but we're not really seeing creativity numbers from him. So we are very much comparing a wing back in Doughty compared to a centre back in Senesi. So what are the benefits of both of these? Well, both double in game week 28, which is really, really important. Bournemouth in particular, Burnley away in game week 27 is a great time to buy them, then followed by the double in game week 28. The downside is that, of course, they blank in game week 29, which isn't ideal at all. Luton, on the other hand, don't have that issue. They double in game week 28, although I would argue is a slightly worse double. They have Villa before that, and then they have Nottingham Forest in the blank game week. So I think there is a lot of value to bringing in Doughty into your teams if you plan on not free hitting in game week 29. If you're in the position where you plan on free hitting in the blank game week, then I maybe would be more encouraged to buy Senesi because the fixtures are great, the double is amazing, and he also then has Everton at home in game week 30 if you don't plan a wild card in after that free hit. So those are the pros and cons of both. The downside of Senesi is that he's on 8 yellow cards. So if you do have him as a potential transfer this week or next, do note that if he gets another 2 yellow cards, he will miss 2 league games, and that would be a real problem over this period. Doughty, on the other hand, only on 3 yellow cards, so no worries there. For me, I do think Doughty is the more exciting pick, and especially if you're looking to just use transfers to get through blank game week 29, Doughty makes a lot of sense for your teams, and also just feel there's more chance of some attacking returns from him. But the predicted points are neck and neck at 11.7. So let me know who you pick in the comment section, or whether one of these are on your transfer list. Last up, I want to look at the predicted points for game week 27 because we do have a captaincy debate that we need to talk about. So, of course, game week 27 is going to be the main discussion between Bukayo Saka and Erling Haaland. I think these are the two standout options for our captaincy. And as of right now, Saka is leading the way for predicted points at 7 against Sheffield United. Erling Haaland at 6.5 with, of course, that Manchester derby. And I do feel like Saka is in an amazing run of form right now. And naturally, I think some managers can be tempted to go for the midfielder. Remember, an additional point for a goal, an additional point for a clean sheet. I wouldn't be surprised if both of those do happen for Bukayo Saka. And all of a sudden, we're sitting on a double-digit return against one of the worst teams in the league. I really do think Saka is tempting, especially being on penalties in that Arsenal team. But when you do watch the FA Cup and you see Erling Haaland score 5 goals against Luton, it does start to make you question whether you should go against somebody like Erling Haaland. Now, I know on paper it's a more difficult fixture against Man United, but realistically, looking at the numbers for Man United and the injuries that they do have, I actually think it's a great fixture for Man City. I don't think Man United are going to be able to sit back in 2 banks of 4. They're too proud for that, even though their plan will be to hit Man City on the counter-attack. I do think Erling Haaland is going to get some joy in this game. And even though he is second on this list, I personally would have Erling Haaland as number 1 just. But I do think Bukayo Saka is an amazing captaincy option, and our algorithm does have him as the number 1 captain. Outside of that, Watkins at 5.6 predicted points, Martinelli at 5.6, and Richarlison. But we do need to remember Richarlison is an injury doubt for the weekend. And outside of that, we have Odegaard, Isak, Gabriel, De Bruyne, and Phil Foden. So based on those points, Saka should be the captain, but I'm going to lean towards Erling Haaland. And I'll be really interested to know in the comment section which player is going to be your captain for game week 27. So that just leaves me to say, thank you so much for tuning in today's video. If you have any questions, please do fire them off in the comment section and we'll be sure to get back to them before the deadline. Make sure you do check out tomorrow's video, and of course, make sure you do drop a like and smash the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Cheers.